Linda, you've cued us in really nicely to the next question, which was really about, from your experiences, how do you, what are your ideas about how we can enable schools to see the value of embarking on a spiral inquiry or an inquiry approach when there are so many competing priorities?
Well, I'll start off. I think, the art of persuasion depends a lot on the audience. Recently, Judy and I have been talking quite a lot about how this is a democratic process. If you look at what Headlands has done, they've taken a focus on really democratic citizenship, which is admirable, and philosophy for children. And in the process of doing that, they've made their structures more democratic. There's more voice from the people that they're actually serving. Young people are saying that what they want is a relationship in their after school care part. They want to go in a car with an adult to a local coffee shop and have coffee, and then maybe if they get up their nerve, go across the street by themselves or with a friend and purchase something and come back to the conversation. I find that very moving. And, we tell that story now to all of our people because it's such a good example of what you do when you listen to young people instead of just making assumptions that what they want to do is more activities or whatever. So we persuade through telling the stories about what people have discovered by talking to young people, and we'll be using Headlands examples all this coming year. We do talk about democracy because it's very important, and in a situation like Scotland, let's say, or Wales right now, there's a lot of government initiatives. In our estimation, they're all good, but usually governments have too many. And it just grinds teachers down and schools down because you can't possibly do that and do all the other things that you're doing, like, responding to kids who are hungry or parents who are upset. So I think one of the things that we have absolutely found is that schools that take the spirals work seriously are less stressed, and the adults have more well-being because they have a shared focus. They can tell they're making gains. And that is self-reinforcing in a way that racing around and trying to do every aspect of a new curriculum or a new evaluation scheme or a new special needs policy doesn't provide you. So, and we never use, and neither have you, we never use the phrase buy-in because that sounds commercial to us and manipulative. We believe, and what we have seen is if you get 4 reasonably keen people and you have reasonably short, focused, intelligent meetings, people can work their way through the process, and by the end of the year they enjoy it because it is the research on what good professional learning is, and you get an outcome for young people almost from the first moment that you ask them the question, can you name a couple of adults in this place who believe you'll be a success in life? You get information that helps you move forward. So,
and I think what I'd add to that is it doesn't matter what the conditions are in the school or in the country or the context. Teachers really care about their kids and they want to do a good job. And I think that we try and reach teachers through the voices of their learners and touching them through stories. Like Linda said, we tell stories all the time. One of the stories that we told for a long time was from Northlands, which is a sporting school in Northern England, and a big school, 1,400 kids, big sports academy. And they took the one question, can you name 2 adults who believe you'll be a success in life? They did a survey. They surveyed all of the kids. I mean, we wouldn't suggest that that's a perfect way to go, but what it did in that school was when they looked at the responses from the young people, the young people that were labeled as pupil premium, which means they need additional support, not a single one named a classroom teacher. If they named anybody, it was a support staff person, the cafeteria lady, the bus driver, but it wasn't a teacher. The kids who were academically on track, for the most part, named teachers. And that just opened up a conversation in the school. And we were there a couple of years after that, that led to enormous changes. So that was a big whole school approach. A smaller approach that we think is really important is just to start with that scanning question. And this was a school in Australia. As they were doing their launch of Spirals, they spent a couple of weeks ahead of time, a vice principal with her phone going around and interviewing kids and asking them, are there a couple of adults or do you have a couple of adults here who believe you'll be a success? And getting the words of the children and seeing the light in their eyes as they talked about these adults, and then using that video to start the meeting, just opened up that curiosity and people saying, well, I wonder what my kids would say. So it's story, it's the voices of the children, and it's also getting started and just starting small, and then sharing what you're learning on a regular basis, rather than thinking that it needs to be a great big deal.
I guess the last point that I would make is you've got a group of schools that have gone through the process already, and I would be looking to find the 2 or 3 most compelling personalities in that group who could honestly say that as a result of the year that they've had, that they feel they're having more of an impact and less stress overall. And by compelling, I mean it might be, a curmudgeon type person who was reluctant to engage and now is finding new joy and satisfaction in their leadership. Or, many of our teacher leaders are actually, in their 65s and 70-year-old. They've stayed on in the profession, like they've taken their pension and come back to it because they found this way of working is so satisfying. And I think, we can't have a throwaway society. We have to have our experienced people with us, and they can really be helpful in bringing the newest generation along. So I would find some of those people and build them into your meetings, even if it's a video, of them saying something about what they found and what they gave up in order to be more focused and intentional.